Hey guys, today I wanted to do a bit of a different video. So our reign as Immortals has just ended on the server, and we actually reigned for 7 weeks straight, and unfortunately we narrowly missed out on the Blessed Reign this time. But we had some very good results against the Shadows. Most of the results were 10-0 and 9-1, as you can see. Unfortunately, we just missed out very narrowly. It was like 30 seconds. Our Immortal leader died from the Shadows, but it was extremely close, and I'm very proud of what we accomplished in this reign. In this video, I kind of just wanted to take a chance to talk about how it feels currently playing as Immortals, and kind of any improvements that the developers could make to make our life a bit better, and just to kind of improve the overall enjoyment of the game, because a lot of these activities I feel like need some work, and just with some slight adjustments, they could just be so much better. So if we take a look on my account, I've actually been Immortal quite a few times. I counted it and it was actually 7 times I've been Immortal, and a lot of the activities haven't really changed. Some of them have been buffed and kind of reworked a bit, but some of the things have just been the same pretty much since day one, and I'd like to kind of give a few suggestions. So, for example, one of the really good things which was changed is that the 12% badge now is shared across all the players in the reign, and everyone will get this 12% badge as long as the reign has been fairly successful. So you can see that a lot of the times in my old reigns before they added the new system, I was only getting 8% or even the 4% badge here, and I was pretty active. It's just I wasn't playing too much Vol in those reigns. But I'm glad to say that they have reworked this, and it's a lot easier to get this 12% badge. Not only the leader gets it, but other players get it. So this is kind of one of the positives that I wanted to start off with. But let's get started with kind of all the improvements that they could make. So first of all, when you become Immortal, let's just talk about the first week. So obviously you have the onboarding, which kind of teaches you how to play as Immortal. You kind of go through the quests here, talk to the NPCs, and they'll give you a few quests to do, but it's really frustrating because the first kind of 3 or 4 days you don't really have much to do, and there's only a few tasks you can complete. And if you've been Immortal before especially, it's really tedious and boring to go through these again. So personally, I would just like an option to skip the tutorial, just like how you can skip the Shadows. I think the quest is called the Eyes in the Dark or something. Whatever the Shadows quest is, you have an option if you've been Shadows before to skip the Shadows faction tutorial. There should also have this option for the Immortals to be able to skip this, and I think that most people at this point, if you're an active player, have had a chance to play as Immortal. If you haven't, then you can just select no, just like you can select no on the Shadows pop-up to skip. So that's the first suggestion I would make. The second suggestion I'd like to make, which I'm sure a lot of players have mentioned, is that this contribute button is super annoying. It only lets you contribute 1 sigil of dominance at a time. They should at least change this to contribute all of the sigils, or at least 10 at a time or something, because this is really annoying to keep pressing this or hold it down, and you just spend like 3 minutes every week just pressing this down, not doing anything. So this really needs to change. The next thing I also want to mention with contribution, which a lot of people have been complaining about, is that obviously players can hold their sigils. So if we take a look at the player list here and just take a look at the kind of standing of these players, you'll be able to see that you can see here that this player has 3,700 contribution. Now, this could be done by mistake, or it could be done on purpose, where they just try to hoard sigils over a couple of weeks and then contribute them all at once to get a really high rank for one of the weeks. But this is especially annoying if players have been playing the Vault. So, for example, this player here, who usually gets rank 1 in our reign, has 1,500 contribution points from Vault Defense, and he just gets pushed down to rank 5 just because a lot of these players have been saving points here. And I think the contribution per week that you can get is roughly 1,300, between 1,200 and 1,300 if you try to min-max it with the bounties and stuff. But yeah, 2,000 and 3,000 just shouldn't be possible, and it's just a shame to see that players who work hard in the Vault get pushed down. So what I would like to suggest is that, I mean, you've got this temporary contribution anyway. So the game recognizes that if you try to contribute from Sunday to Monday, 3 a.m., that it will get basically moved to next week, your contribution. So I think what should be done is that the game should automatically kind of turn in your sigils if you haven't contributed by Sunday, 3 a.m. So if you've got sigils hanging around on your account, whether it's by mistake or you have to be away from the game, any sigils that you've got here per week, they just get automatically turned in. I think that this would solve this problem entirely, and it would just cause a lot of less issues with drama with players and stuff, and more people would want to defend the vault. So now I kind of want to talk about the Immortal activities and move on to the third suggestion. So let's quickly talk about Corvus Expedition. So Corvus Expedition has largely remained unchanged since the game first released, and it's been super boring to play. You basically go through 3 different phases. The first phase, you open a bunch of chests. You just keep clicking them on the ground. The next phase, you have to answer questions. And then the last phase, you have to basically link up some pillars and defeat 3 mobs. This gameplay is extremely boring, and for the Diablo lore and questions, most people just copy-paste the answers. I would really like to see something a bit more engaging and more interesting rather than just being AFK here. Maybe they could add more mobs to kill, or have some kind of monster essence that drops in there, or just something else to do rather than just wait around and click a bunch of boxes on the ground. It's just so boring, the gameplay. The other thing which is really kind of obvious to me is that you need a minimum of 4 players to play this raid, and it's only between Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for half an hour. And what's really annoying is that you can't see when the raid has actually started. So unfortunately, I can't show this because this is the last day of our reign. So let's say you join a Corvus expedition. Anyone who joins your party or your raid is able to start the raid, and there's no indication when the raid actually starts. What I would actually like to see is that only the leader can start this raid. So here we already have the Heliquary raids, and if I created a raid here, I'm the only person who can start it. They added this into the game because random players who would join the raid would start the raid before it filled up. So if you're the leader, I think what they should do is you're the only person who could start it in Corvus. That would stop a lot of people from kind of starting it early, because most people, they want to gather more Immortals into a single raid just so everybody can get it done together. But the way it currently is that anybody who joins the raid can start it, and you have people kind of griefing in there and kind of flaming other people just by starting the raid early. So it's just a bit frustrating as it currently stands, and I would definitely like to see some changes with this Corvus expedition. So with how Corvus currently works is you don't really want to be missing out on it, because you do get these aspirant keys, which are used to open the chest in the Sanctum, and they're really useful to have if you're an active player. So it's just very frustrating, because the minimum they should do is at least notify you if the expedition has started. So if somebody has started and entered the expedition, then at least all players either should be teleported in directly, or there should be something printed out in chat to tell people the expedition has started and you should enter. Because a lot of the time you rely on other people to tell you, oh yeah, it's started. And then the annoying thing is that if it's already active and you've joined and you've missed like the first phase, you won't be able to get the keys that you've missed out on. So right now it's just super annoying, and I wish they would just rework this event. So let's move on now to Defend the Vault, which is one of the activities that I have the most suggestions on. So where do I start with this one? This one's got a lot of different things which I think they could make improvements on. So the first thing is obviously what I've noticed, at least on my server, is that people like to play 4v4 fights a lot of the time, and they don't really want to be playing solo fights against shadows. So I think what they've done is that they've tried to kind of incentivize shadows to join the 4th floor, but a lot of the times people won't do that. So I think they should actually further incentivize shadows to go in the 4th floor and maybe give them even more rewards. And if you are about to leave the vault early as a shadow, maybe there could be a pop-up or something that tells you you're going to miss out on some extra rewards. I think, honestly, if there's more rewards as shadows and people are engaging more with the 4th floor fights, then I think the overall player satisfaction for both factions will definitely increase. And even if you're Immortal or Shadows, you'll be happy to see more Shadows go to the 4th floor of the vault. And you can have some fun fighting those players. I know PvP isn't really people's favorite content, but if they don't wish to do so, then I completely understand. At the same time, it's very boring if you're defending the vault for a full hour and all you see is just kind of the same solo fights and solo shadow players playing. Maybe it's just a problem on our server, I'm not too sure. You can let me know in the comments, but that's the first thing that I kind of wanted to suggest. So the second thing which I quickly wanted to suggest for the vault is that the vault defend pop-up really sucks. So right now how it works is if you're in a party of 4 Immortals defending the vault and you reach position 1 in the queue, you're going to get this vault pop-up, and all 4 players in the party have to accept. And I think the leader can auto accept, but all of the other 3 players have to actually manually press accept. And there's quite a few bugs with this pop-up. I'm not going to get into them all into this video, it will just be way too many. But in my opinion, what should happen is that if somebody's AFK or something, or doesn't press accept, then at least the other players in the party should be allowed to participate in the vault. It's very frustrating that if one player is crashed or disconnected or just AFK and didn't press accept, that all of the other players kind of get pushed to the end of the queue and or have to re-queue again just to get into the vault, especially if they've waited like 10-15 minutes to play a fight. I really think that as long as one person accepts, you should be able to go inside the vault. Or at least the players that don't accept, they don't get placed inside the vault, but the rest of the party can still go inside as normal and play against the shadows. So now I'm going to move on to actually talk about selecting items in the vault, which is a real big pain in my opinion. So how it works currently is you've got the strategy tab here and you go to the vault and you can select your items in the vault. So what they've done is that they've reduced the amount of time that you can select an item in the vault. Before you could kind of had the whole week to request your items. Now you've only got a window of like 20 hours or so where you can select items. And if you forget to do it, then you actually will get just random items sent to you in your reward at the end of the week, which is really, really frustrating. I wish they would kind of have it back, the old system where you could select the whole week, or at least kind of give an extra warning, like a pop-up in the notifications, where you have like your notifications here, or maybe even a mail, just to tell players, guys, like request an item in the vault, because right now, with the short amount of time and people not being able to log in every day, then it's very, very frustrating. I've actually missed out on selecting items myself, even if I was placed decently high, rank 35. Sometimes I've actually forgotten to pick these items up. So that's the first thing which I quickly wanted to mention. And the second thing is, this is super, super frustrating. If you've had any experience playing Immortal, this whole filtering system is a real pain. Like, there's so many things wrong with it, and I'm not sure why they haven't improved it. So most of the time, people now like to switch class a lot, and the only options you have is either filter by all the items of every single class, or just items in your class. What I would like to see in the filtering here is an option to select every single class, or at least an option to select the essence that you're missing, so that if you're purely going for the essence powers rather than a good stat item, you can select those. So for this week, for example, I've selected 2 Necromancer items because I want to go for a Necromancer as my next class. So these were actually a real pain to kind of find. What I had to do is I've selected a shoulders and an offhand here. I had to go to basically filter out everything that's shoulders and find out which shoulders going one by one. And it's very hard to see which one's a Necromancer, which one's a Demon Hunter. Like, it's just a real pain just to find the ones that you want and the ones that you're missing. You'd have to go here, you'd have to see, okay, this one Linger Mantle, and then you'd go to your Essence Transfer up here and just check, okay, I'm missing the Linger Mantle for Necromancer. If we go all the way here and check, okay, I'm missing this one, so I can select this one in the vault. But this whole process is extremely annoying. So we have, for example, in the codex, for the level 10 reward, you've got the chest or main hand essence here, and it tells you choose one, and you can see which ones you've actually not owned. So the game can recognize which essence that you're missing, and I'm not sure why the vault filtering doesn't have that. Or at least you can see here, I'm in the Warband stash. They have this functionality where you can actually filter by magic attributes and by level. So I'm not sure why they don't have something similar like this for the vault, where you can set this to, I don't know, 3 or 4, and just be able to kind of see which items are more relevant to your class. It really doesn't make sense to me how the current system works, and this is something which hasn't really changed. In fact, they've only made it worse, in my opinion, with adding this limitation of having only 20 hours to select items in the vault. And it ends up being that a lot of players actually miss items for the week, which is very unfortunate. So let's say I was looking for a new essence like the offhand, the primary attack offhand, which they've recently added to the game, which is really, really good. I wouldn't be able to select it from the vault simply because new essences can't exist. I think these essences are like really, really old. They're like the essence that came with when the game was first released, and there's none of the new essence. I'm not sure if this is a design by choice or they've just forgotten to update it, but it would be really nice to see some new essence here rather than just the old ones. And the second thing is that you can only get triple stat items from the vault. It would be nice to also see some 4 stat items, maybe at least 1 or 2 for every class, because I think it would incentivize people to play the vault even more as Immortals. Right now, you can have a maximum of triple stat items. So if I just take a look, yeah, triple triple is the maximum. You can't get forced out items. I'm not talking about the eternal items, which you can only get from terrorists. I'm talking about the ones which can actually drop from open world farming or dungeon farming. There's been a few of those items with 4 magic attributes and non-eternal magic attributes, and it would be nice to see those in the vault. So the next activity that I want to talk about for Immortals is the Kions Ordeal. So how Kions Ordeal works is you have to sign up here, and the times are set by the officers and the leader in the clan, and those who can open basically the Immortal Lieutenants. And you have up to 48 players here, and if more than 48 players have signed up, then the officers or the leader will have a chance to remove players out or put different players in. What you have to do once you're inside is you kill 4 bosses, and once you've killed all 4 bosses, you press the pillar in the middle, and then you're rewarded with keys, 1 legendary item, and if it's your first time in the week doing it, also a legendary crest. And then you also have a chance to get up to 4 legendary items depending on if you stand in the reward circles at the end. But there's a few kind of pain points here, because this event can cause quite a bit of drama, especially in the first week of Immortals. So if you didn't know, in the first week of being Immortal, you can't really have that many Kion openings because you don't really have that much Essentia or Dominance, and you just can't have so many sessions to accommodate for all of the players. So what basically ends up happening is on my server, there's an officer and clan leader priority, and those players get priority to enter Kions, and they have control over who can enter in this menu here, which is a bit frustrating. Honestly, missing out on legendary items, in my opinion, isn't that big of a deal. I know a lot of players really like the legendary items and seeing those beams, but in a few levels you honestly upgrade most of these items. What really matters is the keys. If you miss out on these keys, it can be really, really frustrating, because like I said, they are used to open the Sanctum, which can greatly improve your secondary stats. And if you're not getting these keys, you can fall behind, especially if you miss out on Kions a few times in a row. So what I propose is that as long as you signed up to this event, even if you don't participate, you'd still get these keys mailed to you. I think this would honestly remove a lot of the drama of what's going on with players basically being in control of some other people. Like, for example, Shadow Assembly, that has 2 times which are controlled by the game, and anyone who doesn't join, it's on them. Like, it's not really up to other players to kind of dictate whether or not they can join. And honestly, having this system where it's the officer or the clan leader's responsibility, giving them even more responsibilities, I feel like it just ends up giving them more headache and just more pain than it's worth. And in the end, they have to enforce different rules, like not standing in the legendary circles at the end and sharing items with your kind of fellow Immortals. It just ends up being super, super annoying. I just wish that they would honestly have this activity determined by the game, and just the times for it determined by the game. Maybe have it something like Shadow Assembly, so this limit of 48 players is removed, and then the boss scaling can be determined by the number of players who participate in the event. So that's about everything that I wanted to mention for Kions. Let's move on now to talk about the first 3 weeks, which is the Vigil of Blades week. Overall, I would say that this mode has actually improved quite a bit. And when I first played it, it had a ton of lags. I think I actually covered it in one of my other videos. There were just so many issues with it. And don't get me wrong, there are still a few issues with it, but it's been greatly improved from what it was when it was first introduced. But the only thing which I really want to talk about is the Exalted fights. So at least for our clan, we greatly rely on winning the Exalted battles. As you can see here, we actually got defeated in all of the other battles, and we won all 3 of our Exalted battles, which ended up winning us the match here. So these Exalted battles are obviously very, very important, because they give 8 victory points per match. So obviously, since these fights are very important, our clan at least has chosen to have pre-made teams for each of these fights. What can sometimes happen is that because we like to join the fight a bit later, so we don't reveal our strategy, other players in the clan can actually see that the lineup is free and there's a free spot in the fight, and they just end up joining one of these Exalted fights, which ends up kind of blocking the spot to one of our other members, which can get very, very frustrating. So I would really like to see at least the Exalted battles have some kind of similar lineup as you do in the Rite of Exile, where that you can set the actual players who are allowed to join these specific fights. Because right now there can kind of be a bit of chaos and disorganization into who can actually join these Exalted fights. And if you have the wrong players joining the fight, this can obviously be very, very costly. So I think this change would greatly benefit both the Immortals and the Shadows factions, is if the developers allow the option for leaders to select specific players to be able to enter these Exalted fights. So now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the blessed rain system. And I know a lot of players are going to have different opinions about this, and you can let me know your opinion in the comments. But in this video, I'll try to give my take on it, and it might be a hot take for some people. So if we take a look at the eternal rewards here, you can see that most of these rewards don't require a blessed rain. It's only these last 2 cloaks here which require blessed rains. And you can see I've spent a total of 19 weeks as Immortal across the last 3 reigns, and also had a total of 1 blessed rain. So I wouldn't mind, to be honest, if they still keep this requirement of having 28 weeks 4 blessed rains and 42 weeks and 6 blessed rains. But I would like to have an option that if you've reigned for a really, really long time, let's say you've also reigned for a total of, I don't know, 100 weeks or something, you can actually unlock this and maybe, I don't know, 200 weeks or something. If you have no blessed reigns and you've reigned for that long, I honestly think you deserve to have these capes, in my opinion. So I would really like to see that, rather than just having these blessed reigns, maybe having another option for players to be able to unlock this. I think this would relieve some of the drama, because right now you have players making 5 clan alliances, players switching server or switching clan just so they can get their hands on these cloaks. I think it's just causing way too many issues, and in my opinion, at the end of the day, this is just a cosmetic. It's just pixels. It does look pretty cool, but it's not really worth causing so much drama and hassle over this. But it's just a shame to see how much players put stress on themselves just for these cosmetics in game. So talking about stress, the other thing is that to get a blessed rain, even if you have very good coordination and you win most of these fights here, your Immortal leader has to win in the 7th week. So even if you've had a 10-0 victory here, the blessed rain can still fail if the Immortal leader dies in the fight. And unfortunately, we were extremely close. I think our Immortal leader ended up dying with 30 seconds left on the clock or something. So this actually puts a lot of stress on the Immortal leader, in my opinion, just to play the challenge of the Immortal as best as they can. And you have 300 Immortal players on your back, which kind of are looking for you to win the fight just so you can secure the blessed rain for them. Personally, I think that this is not a great system, and there's been quite a lot of bug abuse just to win this fight, and players kind of switching into werewolves on another server. I saw some clips about that, and yeah, just in general, like for example, the Paragon tree, which was apparently bugged, which had a lot of drama around it, was also the champion tree here, where the Immortal could gain back their full life if they defeat 6 enemies. So this was obviously fixed, and now most players are going for the Warden tree. But I think that right now, with how it works, it's just a bit too challenging. The Necromancers have an essence that can kind of remove beneficial effects, and you've just got a lot of balancing to do for this fight. And I think like the fight itself is not really balanced at all. And I think that balancing this fight and balancing all the essence across different classes and making sure nothing is broken is a very big challenge in of itself. So having everything riding on this challenge of the Immortal kind of seems like a bit of a stupid decision. It honestly feels like the efforts of the 300 people in the reign are kind of wasted, and it all comes down to the change of the Immortal fight. No matter how well they play in the Rite of Exile, it all comes down to the Immortal leader at the end. So I would really like to see some changes there. Maybe they could honestly do something where they link blessed reigns to the dominance. So for example, here you've got the Immortal Ages, which is all the ranks of the Immortal, and most of the time players are achieving the Gold 4. I think Gold 4, once you've reached 750k, it maxes out 750k dominance. So as you can see here, we've actually reached 4.9, almost 5 million dominance. And maybe they could do something where if you've reached a total amount of dominance, I don't know, for 5 million or 4 million, then this increased dominance could buff the Immortal in the fight and make the challenge of the Immortal a lot easier, or just outright give a blessed rain. I think that everybody in the reign wants to feel like they are contributing and moving towards this blessed rain goal, and it just seems silly to kind of have it all weighing down on the shoulders of one player, rather than having all of the Immortal members feel like they can contribute and help towards this blessed rain goal. So that's kind of everything that I wanted to talk about in this video, guys. I would really like to see some quality of life improvements for the Immortals. I think with just a few tweaks, it can be made a lot better. And I would really urge the developers to look at the blessed rain system. I think a lot of players might disagree with my take, which is fine, but I think we can all agree that this system isn't really the best. And if the name of the game is Diablo Immortal and the whole goal of the game is to experience being immortal, then I think they should really try to look at the faction as a whole and try to make improvements and make it feel like it's really worth pushing for this. So one more thing I wanted to mention before I end the video is the Wall of Honor here. I actually noticed a bug with the Wall of Honor with the older reigns. I'm not sure if it's just on our server, Maybe you guys can let me know and check if this is the same on your server. But if you're an old player, then you'll know some of the older reigns on the server. And if I scroll back far enough, you can see that this actually bugs out completely. And now I can't kind of move forward or backwards. But what this has meant is that older reigns on our server no longer appear on the Wall of Honor. Now, I actually was part of the first reign as Immortal on our server. And I actually completed that reign with Wadijo as the Immortal leader, who you guys might know. He's a very, very famous Diablo streamer, and he streams Diablo 4 and Diablo 3, I believe, now. But that reign was actually one of my proudest reigns on the server, and unfortunately now it's been lost. I thought that the Wall of Honor would kind of have everything, all the server history, and have all the leaderboard, but unfortunately that reign is now gone. I think this was the reign, Stay a Whale and Listen. You can see we reigned for 4 weeks. This was the first reign on Dark Wanderer, but if I just look on the Immortal wall, this reign has actually disappeared completely, and I think a few of the other reigns have actually disappeared, so this is probably just a bug where older reigns have been removed from the server. Now, to be honest, this isn't something super important and shouldn't be a priority, but I'm very proud of this achievement that I had, and in my opinion, the Wall of Honor should have all of the history of the server. This was all the way back in June of 2022 where I achieved the first Immortal reign on the server, and I would just love this to come back. Do let me know in the comments, guys, if you're a kind of old player or somebody who's been playing from the start of the game, and if you also experience this problem on your server, then just let me know. To end the video, I'm just going to be showing the Immortal Cloak here, and you can see here that it's the cloak unlocked when you've reigned for a total of 14 weeks. So it does look really cool, especially on Crusader if you're riding around with the new horse essence. It looks extremely cool, and I'm very proud to have achieved it. So like I said, I just wanted to cover something a bit different. I had a lot to get off my chest because I just really want to see the Immortal faction improve, and also just the game improve in general. Even if I'm not part of the Diablo Immortal Partner Program, I really hope that one of the content creators in that program sees this video, or someone at Blizzard sees this video. I still think it is valuable to give my feedback, and if other players can also give their feedback, then I think the game can improve as a whole, and we can kind of enjoy playing as this faction. But with that said, guys, I'll be ending the video there. I will go back to covering more build guides for the Crusader. There has been some really nice new essence added, so stay tuned for those videos. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.